I often wonder, when exactly did it all start to go wrong? When did I stop being myself and become someone I didn't even recognize in the mirror? Truth is, life doesn't fall apart in one moment. It rusts, slowly, quietly, from the inside out. I met Sarah at a friend's birthday party. I'd just gotten out of a relationship, wasn't looking for anything serious, but she was like a storm. I was standing by the kitchen, pouring myself a beer, already thinking about leaving early, when she walked up in this bright red blouse, laughing louder than anyone, looking like she owned the room. She grabbed my arm like we'd known each other forever and said, "So, are you one of those quiet introvert types? Or are you just not drunk enough yet?" That's how it started. 1 hour later, we were outside talking nonstop about movies, dreams, travel stories. I couldn't remember the last time I felt that light around a woman. She was smart, magnetic, loud in a way that pulled people in, and I was the quiet, grounded type. I got pulled into her orbit so fast I didn't even notice. We started dating almost immediately. Within a month, she was leaving stuff at my place. By month 3, she'd moved in. I thought, this is it. She's strong. She's confident. She knows what she wants. I believed she'd help me grow out of my shell. I thought I'd found someone who'd pull me up. At first, her sarcasm felt playful. "You don't know how to iron. How did you survive before me? You cook like a broke college kid. Our kids are gonna live on ramen. When you talk, it's like you're reading a eulogy. Ever heard of tone?" I laughed. I really did. It felt like teasing, maybe even flirting. But day by day, her jokes cut deeper, and my laughter faded. Then came the fights, out of nowhere. 15 minutes late, full-blown anger. Bought the wrong sauce, silent treatment all evening. Left a cup in the sink, accusations. I kept trying to stay calm, asking what I did wrong, apologizing for things I didn't even understand. I told myself she was just emotional, passionate, but the more I gave, the more she took. Eventually, it wasn't arguing anymore. It was performance. One time, I liked a coworker's post on Instagram. Just a cup of coffee and a book. Nothing flirty. But Sarah saw it and exploded, screaming. Said I was cheating. Threw my phone against the wall. The neighbors knocked. Then, 5 minutes later, she sat next to me, hugged me, and cried, "I just don't want to lose you. I'm sorry. I lost control." And I believed her, because I loved her, and because I was scared. Scared that if I left, she'd hurt herself, or me. The first time she hit me, it was calm, calculated, open palm across the face at dinner. I said something she didn't like. She stood up, walked over, and slapped me like it was routine. I didn't react, just froze. She leaned in and said, "Now maybe you'll actually listen." Then came her tears, her apology, and mine. "I'm sorry, I must have pushed you too far." That's how it started, me saying sorry for simply existing. She changed by the hour. Mornings, soft, sweet, bringing me coffee. Evenings, rage, accusations, flying remotes. I started dreading home. I'd stand at the door, take a breath, and flip on silent mode. Don't argue. Don't challenge. Just survive. Nights were worse. She'd wake me up at 3 a.m., start fights out of nowhere, drag up old stuff, accuse me of cheating, not loving her, not caring. If I stayed silent, she'd punch my chest. Not to hurt me, just to show me she could. I'd stare at the ceiling, jaw clenched so I wouldn't cry. A grown man, wishing he could disappear. I tried talking to friends. My brother said stuff like, "Things are tough, she gets intense." They laughed. "She's fiery, bro." "You're a man. You'll be fine. Just don't fight back." I even Googled it. What to do when your wife hits you? And what I found? Memes. jokes. She hits you? Must be love. Hit the gym, not your wife. Bro, really? It wasn't funny. It was terrifying. And then came the cops. And that was only the beginning. The first time she called the police. It was the middle of the night, and I remember every second of it. It was a weekday around 2 a.m. We'd already gone to bed. I was drifting off to sleep. She was next to me, laying on her side, back turned, just like always. Then suddenly she got up and left the room. No words, no tension. I figured, she's getting a glass of water. A minute later, she came back, phone in hand, and then, loudly, clearly, like she wanted me to hear every word, she said, "Hi, yes, this is 911. My husband. He's become aggressive. I'm scared. He's threatening me. I locked myself in the bedroom. Please come quickly." At first, I didn't even process it. I was still lying there, motionless. I hadn't done a thing. Her words didn't even feel like they were meant for me. It was like I'd stepped into a movie, a nightmare. 10 minutes later, sharp knocks on the door. "Police, open up!" I opened the door wearing just a t-shirt and shorts, still half asleep. 2 officers, both serious, alert. "Are you Joshua?" "Yes. What's going on?" "We received a call. Your wife says you've been acting aggressive. Where is she now?" And then I saw her, standing behind them, crying, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold in the trauma, voice shaking. She looked like the poster girl for domestic abuse. But I didn't recognize her. That wasn't Sarah, my partner of 3 years. That was a character, a performance. And she delivered her lines perfectly. He yelled. He threatened me. I didn't know what to do, she whispered. They brought me outside, told me to sit on the porch, checked for weapons, asked if I'd been drinking, and I wanted to say, I was asleep. No yelling, no fighting, no violence. But I didn't, because I knew she got there first. And in this system, the first one to cry becomes the truth. Luckily, the officers weren't aggressive. They gave us the usual stay calm, respect each other talk, and left. But I knew that was just the beginning. 2 weeks later, it happened again. This time, it was daytime. I'd just come home from work, drained, mentally foggy. Sarah was already standing there, in the hallway, arms crossed, jaw tight. Where were you? I texted you. Meeting ran long. Oh yeah? Meeting with who? That slut who comments on your stories? I didn't raise my voice. I stayed calm, told her to stop. But she snapped, screaming, throwing punches, chest, shoulder, cheek, fast, uncontrolled, like a storm in free fall. I stepped back, didn't touch her, just tried to de-escalate. That's when she grabbed a vase and smashed it on the floor, then dropped to her knees and started screaming, loud, raw, like someone had stabbed her. A neighbor saw it all from her window. She called the police herself. By the time the officers arrived, Sarah was already mid-performance, on the floor, hair wild, voice cracking. He shoved me, I fell. I just wanted answers and he exploded. And I was just standing there, a few feet away, no contact, no words. But no one cared, because the script was already written. A crying woman means pain. A quiet man means guilt. One of the officers pulled me aside, said, "Look, I don't know what's happening here, but these situations get real messy, real fast. Maybe it's best if you spend the night somewhere else." I left. No bag, no wallet, just keys and my phone. I drove down the freeway, and for the first time thought, what happens the day she says I hit her? Who would ever believe me? That's when I started recording everything. I'd hit record on my phone the second I stepped through the door. I kept a journal. Took photos of the bruises she left when she lost control. One time, she slammed a cabinet into my face, split my lip. I went to the pharmacy, bleeding. The pharmacist asked, "Are you okay, sir?" I smiled and said, "Yeah, just bumped into something." Because telling the truth, that would have felt more shameful. Because when a man says, "She hit me," people laugh. She called the cops 2 more times after that. Once, she even scratched her own arm, showed them. I told the officers, "She's faking it. This is all theater." One looked at me, deadpan, and said, "If you can't control yourself, sir, that's a problem. Maybe reflect on how you're acting." Then came the restraining order. Court, hearings, assigned lawyer, mandatory anger management. I sat there in court like a criminal, across from the woman who'd been hurting me for years, telling the judge she feared for her life. She had a photo, a self-inflicted scratch. I had recordings, photos, bruises. But my lawyer said, "Don't show it. It'll look like you're trying to justify something. You're a man. Initiative looks aggressive." So I stayed silent, and in that silence was the worst truth of all. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly how it was built. If you're a man, you're guilty. Automatically. One night, after another round of sleeping in a rental, she texted me, "I can drop the claim. Just act like a real husband. Then everything will be fine." That night, I didn't answer. That night, I finally chose not to go back. But even that wasn't the end. The last few weeks in that rented apartment didn't feel like freedom. They felt like I'd survived something that no one could see. But everything inside me still felt on fire. On the outside, I was walking, talking, even laughing once or twice. But inside, it was ruins. The kind of ruins where something used to grow. I wasn't living. I was surviving. Quietly. The rooms were clean. The silence was complete. But it was a silence filled with memories. Sharp, raw, invasive, like broken glass underfoot. I couldn't sleep through the night. Every sound felt like a threat. Pipes creaking, a neighbor's door slamming, the hum of the refrigerator. It all sounded like her voice, her rage, her footsteps in the hallway. I'd wake up thinking she was there again, that she'd somehow gotten in, that she was waiting. I started double-checking locks, peeking through the peephole a dozen times a night, checking my phone compulsively, afraid she'd left another voice message. It was paranoia, but it was also survival. Eventually, I cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. I found the number of a therapist and scheduled a session without telling anyone. I didn't go there to talk. I went there so someone else could hold space for what I hadn't said out loud. For 20 minutes, I sat in silence. Then finally, I forced the words out. "I'm a victim of domestic violence, but no one believes me, because I'm a man." She nodded, calm, unmoved. "You're not the first," she said, "and unfortunately, not the last." Those words didn't heal me, but they validated me. They gave me the smallest crack of light through a wall I thought was permanent. For the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe I wasn't insane. Maybe I wasn't weak. I was just tired of fighting alone. So I started collecting evidence, not for revenge, not even for court, for me, to remind myself that it happened, that I didn't imagine it, that I didn't make it up. Screenshots of messages, recordings where I was whispering, "Please stop," and she was screaming back. Photos of bruises, torn clothes, broken things. I kept a folder on a USB drive I wore around my neck. My proof, my sanity, my lifeline. Then she came back, digitally. Fake accounts, anonymous emails. One day she'd beg me to forgive her. The next, she'd say she'd destroy me. One message said, "No one will believe you." I can cry on command. Bruises are easy. You're nothing. I read that line over and over again. That wasn't a threat. That was a confession. It was the truth, finally said out loud. I sent it to my lawyer immediately. We moved quietly, restricting order against her. Defamation claim, motion to reopen. No drama. No shouting. Just facts. That's what I'd always had, just not the power to use them. Then came court. She arrived in full performance mode, trembling voice, tissues in hand, all the theater. But when the judge read her message out loud, the one about faking bruises, crying on cue, you could feel the oxygen leave the room. Her eyes darted, her hands shook. Is this your message, Ms. Taylor? The judge asked. She hesitated. It was just a joke, the judge replied. Then it was the cruelest kind, one that nearly destroyed an innocent man. The order against me was dropped. Her own became permanent. She was fined, assigned mandatory counseling, and flagged as a high-risk accuser. Her word would never again be enough without proof. For once, the system believed me. I left that courtroom, got into my car, and sobbed, not out of joy, out of release, because for the first time in years someone had said, I believe you, and that meant everything. But survival doesn't end when the abuse does. It lingers in the way you flinch at slammed doors, in how you apologize for taking up space, in how you second-guess yourself even when you know you're right. It's been over a year. I live alone. I have routines. I sleep better. I breathe easier. But I still carry the echoes. Sometimes I still dream I'm back there, in that apartment, with her screaming, with me silent, and I wake up choking on that silence. But now, I get up. I remind myself of the truth. I survived. And if you're listening to this and any of this feels familiar, please know you're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're in a storm, but you can walk out of it. You can heal. You can find your voice. You can choose never again, because silence didn't protect me. Speaking did. And now I'll never go back to silence again. Even after everything, people still ask me why I stayed so long, why I didn't leave sooner, why I didn't fight harder. They don't understand that abuse doesn't always come in fists. It comes in doubts, in fear, in shame. You begin to believe what you're told, that you're the problem, that you're overreacting, that no one else would ever love you. You begin to accept the silence because it feels safer than the explosion. You walk on eggshells so long your feet forget how to stand firm. I lost friends. I pushed people away. I smiled when I was dying inside. And the worst part? No one saw it, because no one expects the man to be afraid. No one imagines the man walking on tiptoes in his own home. No one sees the bruises you carry on the inside. But I see you. If you're hearing this, if you feel like no one believes you, like the world won't take your pain seriously, please know that you are not invisible. You are not crazy. You are not alone. There is life after this. There is light after this. And you are worthy of both. If no one's told you this yet, let me be the first. I believe you. You matter. And you can still come back to yourself. After the courtroom victory, I thought things would start falling into place. But healing doesn't follow court decisions. It doesn't come with a judge's gavel. I still jumped when someone said my name too loudly. I still froze when I saw a red blouse on a stranger in the street. My body kept memories, even when my mind tried to let them go. Friends reached out. Some apologized for not seeing it. Some were too ashamed to say anything at all. A few quietly admitted they'd noticed something was off, but didn't want to interfere. I nodded. I understood. But deep down, I wish just one of them had pushed harder back then. Sometimes silence is louder than shouting. I started volunteering, just a little, talking with other men going through something similar. It was rare, but when it happened, it cracked my heart open all over again. The tears in a grown man's eyes when he says, "I thought it was just me." It breaks you, and then it rebuilds you. You realize the shame isn't yours. It never was. Dating again? That's another chapter I haven't written yet. I'm learning to love being alone. To sit in a room with myself and not feel fear. To eat dinner without tension. To sleep with the lights off. That's my victory right now. But every now and then, I wonder, what would have happened if I never recorded those messages? If she never slipped? If the judge hadn't believed the evidence? It terrifies me how close I came to being buried by a lie. How many others never get that chance? So if you're listening, and you're still in it, still questioning your reality, still wondering if it's abuse because there are no bruises, hear me. Abuse isn't just what leaves marks on your skin. It's what rewires your mind. It's what makes you forget who you were before it all started. And escaping it doesn't make you weak. It makes you powerful. You didn't fail because you stayed too long. You survived. And if you're still in it, that survival is still happening every day you wake up. Keep going. Please, keep going. Because one day, someone will sit across from you, eyes full of truth, and say, "I believe you." And that moment will change everything. Not all at once, but enough to begin again. A few nights ago, I stood in my kitchen pouring a glass of water when I heard a knock on the door. Firm, familiar. My heart stopped. For a second, I was back there, in the old apartment, the night of the first police visit. My hands shook. I couldn't breathe. I walked slowly to the door and looked through the peephole. "Just a delivery guy. Wrong address." I laughed, then cried, right there on the floor of my hallway. Not because I was scared, but because I realized something. I was safe. My fear didn't own me anymore. It visited, but it didn't live here. And that is how I know I made it out.